Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. There's Troy laughing with his gin and a grin, telling stories about where he's been. Boomer's got whiskey, he's loosening his tie, chasing dreams under a midday sky. The bartender knows us, he's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment we're happy to share. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for the day. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. Sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh, we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Salut and welcome to the beginning of the work week. So glad you guys could be here. I was talking with someone behind the scenes about the theming of liquid lunch. How does thoughtful Tuesday and WTF Wednesday and Monday music, how do these different topics, how are they different? How are they not basically the same thing? There's a similarity. It's obviously talking about what's on our minds, right? But it's a difference of where the focus is. So for example, WTF Wednesday is something I just can't wrap my head around, and I just want to rant about a little bit. So it could be a little bit on the negative side, but Thursdays, way more on the positive side. Things that I'm thankful for. I'd like to hear what you guys are thankful for, and so forth. Tuesdays, Thoughtful Tuesday. I want to know specifically your thoughts. And Monday musings are generally my thoughts. And my thoughts not being a rant necessarily or anything, positive or negative. Usually something I haven't quite parsed out in my own mind yet. So I want to throw it out there and see what you guys think. So we'll muse a little bit together this and every Monday, but don't want to do any of that until I say hi to all of y'all. Starting with Big Al at Big Al Presents, says, have a great stream today, Troy. Happy Monday, Liquid Lunchers. Well, salute. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Big Al. Yes, it's lunchtime for Curtis Selby. I'm glad he could be here to join us. Mark Malnikoff says, Mech po, which for those of you that don't speak Klingonhol, that means lunchtime. Here I are, another day, another Darsek. You make that much per day? Not bad, not bad. Yeah, the conversion rate isn't very good either. Maybe one of these days I'll have to talk about Star Trek currency. Last call with Troy Pacelli. Hello, love of my life. Well, that is the love of my life calling me the love of hers. I love you too, Netter of Netters Network. She says, like, share, subscribe, become a member, leave a comment, and gift a membership. Yes, please consider, if you're already a member, gifting a membership, because I am in a membership drive trying to reach 100 members by the end of the year. And it's absolutely necessary to keep this channel alive. Would really appreciate that. I also appreciate Jonathan Conroy, who says, "Hail all, smash the like button and enjoy the show." Yes, I do hope you enjoy the show. That's why I do it. Hopefully because you're enjoying it. Let's see here. Smash the like button, subscribe, and become a member. Da! Or I will release the flying targs. When targs fly. When targs fly. Let's see who else we got here. We got Fluff Chick Productions. Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Welcome. Good to see you. Jesse Green. Jesse Green, good to see you. It's been a minute. Glad you're here. It is Monday indeed. It absolutely is. Let's see. And I think that catches us up. That catches us up. All righty. So let's get into it. I got a couple things that I'm looking at. I feel that these are all kind of thematically related. I'm going to try not to spend too much time on any one individual one. Let's start. Well, most of this comes, of course, from that Park Place, because they're one of the best entertainment news outlets out there. Marvin Montanaro is... he's a superstar. He's a great writer and very perspicacious. So Tron Ares flops hard in opening weekend box office as trades try to blame anything but quality for failure. Yes, I've even seen them still blaming the coof for the failure of this movie. Now, not literally, people afraid that they're going to catch the coof, but they're arguing that the industry as a whole has not recuperated from the coof and the lockdowns and all the craziness for the past 5 years. Although there are other franchises out there that have done very well at the box office that would beg to differ. Disney's long-awaited Tron Ares has officially crashed on entry. I don't know if you caught this the other day, but in the thumbnail for Geeky Geezers, that image they have of the red light cycle going straight up the side of a wall. I had it arching downward into a red D-resing. Just me trying to be clever. It isn't the quality. All the fans are, oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? They still blame the fans, and they use those. Oh, by the way, that word there, you go calling somebody that in the chat, that's the best way to get yourself booted from the channel. That's already happened. And I don't care if you are a member, a paying member. I have no problem losing your $2 a month because you don't call people here in this chat, my friends, my family, racists. Okay? Because there aren't any racists here. They wouldn't be here if they were. You come in and you say that, you're out of here. Martini Monday. I did think about that, but I don't always feel like I'm... martini is one of my favorite drinks. By the way, welcome, Enigma Severus. Here's to it. Why are people being mean on the channel? We are supposed to be chill and hold friendly discussions. Some people don't know how. This was another musing I was having that I wasn't planning to talk about tonight, but I'll get into it very briefly. We see it on social media all the time. People it's just millions of years of evolution have wired us a certain way. And it's pride. We have pride. And when we have made a decision, when we have formed an opinion, We hold tight to it as part of our personality. In spite of everything demonstrating it is absolutely wrong, you will ignore all evidence to the contrary because it has become part of your identity. And there are people out there that have made certain geopolitical ideologies the core of who they are. They have chosen sides in ancient conflicts throughout the world. They have identified with one side over the other. And anyone who tries to point out that this isn't a good versus evil thing, both sides are flawed. War is a flaw that we need to rectify peacefully, if at all possible. But as soon as you point out, that their side isn't 100% right, you're a racist. You're a racist. Okay. Bye. Because all that tells me is I can't have a rational conversation with you. I hear you, Lance Call with Troy Pacelli. I'll be careful now. I throw that word around. Oh, by all means, I'm not saying don't use the word. Especially the way you used it, Curtis, when you were kind of mocking people like this and how they use it. I'm just saying don't call anyone in the chat that and mean it. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Don't blame me one bit, Troy. I've booted people from Dino's channel. And that's why I'm so glad you've got the what do they call it? The blue spanner. This is why this Connie Cleary here, Fluff Chick Productions, she's good people to have around as your support staff on your channel. My people love you guys. See, that's the attitude I want to foster here. Yeah. We are all chill here. Few bad apples come, try to tear it down. See, the difference is, the difference between me and, some of these mayors and governors, right? I don't tolerate it. You come in and you start causing problems, you're gone. Bye, out. This isn't a safe place for people that want to cause trouble. It's meant to be a safe place for everybody that wants it to be. You come in, cause trouble, you're gone. Yep, there you go. Okay, let's get back to it. Enough of that nastiness that happened last week. Disney's long-awaited Tron has officially crashed on entry to the weekend box office. Despite heavy promotion, years of anticipation, the sci-fi sequel opened to just $33.5 million domestically and $60.5 million worldwide, according to AP News and Entertainment Weekly. For a film carrying a reported $180 million budget, which some outlets claim actually reached as high as $200 million. Those are alarming numbers. Let me break this down for you very quickly. I know we do this whenever we talk budgets on film, but I always want to kind of do a real quick recap. When a studio says, this is our budget for this film, right? That's like your budget for your vacation. You may budget that amount, but when you actually get into it and you find yourself away from home and the car breaks down, you got to get it repaired, you burn more on gas than you expected to, you bought a few extra things that you weren't expecting to buy, there's a hotel fee that you weren't expecting and so forth, you go over budget. And you have no choice but to go over budget. Same thing happens to every single film. They budget $100 million. You can assume it's going to be about $200 million by the time they're actually done. What they plan to do and what they actually do are two different things. And the budget does not include marketing. That's why they always add another 100% to that. So you always, whatever they say their budget is, you always hear three times that. Okay? And because of the way finances work in Hollywood, none of this comes out of like a wallet in cash. This is all they get a loan from the bank to pay it off up front. And from day one, the bank is charging them interest. So in order for them to break even, they have to make that 3 times their budget plus another 100%. They need to basically make 6 times what their budget is in order to be considered to have made a profit. That's basically what we're getting at. And another thing that people don't often talk about is they're looking for the movie to make that break-even point in its first week. If it doesn't do that, they get very concerned because it's very unlikely it's going to do better in the second and third week. The only way it does better in its second week is if the movie has what they call legs. If it's so good that word of mouth is, man, you got to go see this movie. This is great. And that is not what is happening with this movie. Everyone is basically saying, yeah, this movie was the best they are saying is this movie was boring. And it looked visually great and the soundtrack is wonderful, but it was boring. That is not going to get anyone to go see this movie that didn't see it opening week. That's just the way it goes. Budgets, I equate that with something I learned long ago from a great manager. The 5 Ps. Pre-planning prevents poor performance. Sadly, I see pre-planning. That's 2 Ps, right? Sadly, common sense, that's lost today. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, so let's get back to this one really quick because I want to get to the next part of this. Early estimates projected the opening to be 80 to 90 million in the U.S., meaning the film missing its mark by a wide margin. The Tron Ares box office debut illustrates an uncomfortable reality for Disney. Visual spectacle and nostalgia can't save a story. Problem is, they've learned this lesson over and over and over again. This is not the first time. They're going, oh, gee, maybe nostalgia isn't enough. No, never was. It never was. A decade too late. We're talking about a franchise that started in the 80s that actually didn't do very well in the 80s. Tron was kind of a bust originally, but it garnered followers over time. People looked back on it and said, wow, this was really kind of cutting edge. And it's actually a really, really good story. Soundtrack, incredible. Soundtrack was, let's face it, when Tron Legacy, the sequel, came along, that Daft Punk soundtrack was emulating, going after the sound of the original one. They were paying homage to something. 9 Inch Nails might be good, but they're no Daft Punk. Anyway, there aren't many people alive today that were big fans of Tron back when it first came out, bought any of those original toys. Speaking of toys, New York Comic Con announced a HasLab. I got some problems with the whole HasLab concept. The idea that you have to crowdfund a toy from a multi-million-dollar company like Hasbro. They can't just make this thing and sell it in store like normal people and just make it available. No, we're going to charge you, I don't know why this is coming up in Great British pounds, 260 pounds. I don't know what that comes out. Alexa, what is 259 US... fuck. Let's start that over again.
I'm not quite sure how to help
yeah, I know, because I don't know how to talk. Alexa, convert 259 pounds to US dollars.
259 pounds is about 345 US dollars and 20 cents.
Yeah. So about $350 for 5 action figures, 2 light cycles, and a display stand. That's a lot of money. $350. So let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say each figure is worth about $20. That's about what 3 3/4 inch action figures are going for these days from Hasbro. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So you're paying $250 for those little light cycles and a display stand. That's bullshit. Well, look at where they're at. They have 881 backers, and they need 10,000, or this doesn't happen at all. Now, admittedly, it hasn't even been a week yet. It's been just the weekend, but most HasLabs that are going to make their budget are usually at about halfway in its first week. I really do think people are starting to look at this stuff and go, that's way overpriced. And here's the other thing. The whole idea behind the HasLab. The very first HasLab. Was it the very first? I don't know if it was the very first. It was the first Star Wars one. Was Jabba's sail barge, which is humongous. And there was no way they were going to take the risk on something like that. Put it out in the stores. And what stores would carry it? It was so big. You know, Target and Walmart, I couldn't see taking up that much shelf space with something they might only sell one or two of at that location. It's the kind of thing you would expect to see at a Toys R Us, an FAO Schwartz back in the day. That's not happening these days. So I understood that one. And you know what that HasLab was for? $500. $500 for this thing that takes up a whole dining room table in size. And I think it came with 2 action figures as well. So, I mean, there was a lot of value there. A lot of value. And a stand. And it had a stand. You know, that makes it look like it's hovering over the desert sands. And they're charging almost that much for this. I'll tell you, these 881 people are idiots. They're idiots. This is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. But this doesn't help it. The fact that Tron Ares is doing so poorly. There is no. Oh yeah, thank you, David Pensack. Welcome, by the way. And don't forget that the front wheel of the light cycle does not spin. Yeah, I'm not sure which is worse. Okay, so this vehicle, you put your action figure into it and you run it along the ground? Nope. This rear wheel spins. The front wheel does not. I'm not sure which is worse, the fact that this wheel doesn't turn or that they bothered to make this one turn. Why bother? I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway. So again, I wanted to touch on this whole COVID thing. Industry Trade Deadline floated the idea that lingering COVID area audience behavior might have affected turnout. But that explanation does not hold much water. Post-lockdown successes like Spider-Man No Way Home, Top Gun Maverick, Deadpool vs. Wolverine, and Inside Out 2 prove that audiences will show up when the content connects. Exactly right. Apparently this is the digital world of Tron Ares. That looks a lot less like the grid that I remember. Anyway, Jared Leto, he's not a draw. He never was. The math doesn't compute. Domestic opening 33.5 million, worldwide opening 60.5 million, a budget of about 180 million, estimated break-even point 400 million. They're not going to make 400 million. They just aren't. It's done. It's not happening. But real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Here's another franchise that's completely dead. Doctor Who is as dead as we've ever known it, says former writer of Doctor Who, after years of cratering ratings. So let's cry about it, Shooty. Oops, didn't mean to. Let's cry about it a little bit. Doctor Who could be a dead show, never to return to the airwaves after a string of creative misses by the 2 most recent showrunners, Chris Chinballs and Russell T Davies. Indeed, the Doctor may have survived Daleks, Cybermen, and the end of time itself, but can it survive modern television? I think the biggest hit is the fact that the BBC can't continue to draw on government funds, on the enforced taxation for TV licenses over in the UK. They actually have to produce now. You know, like that line from Ghostbusters. Oh, you haven't worked in the private sector. They expect results. Yeah. If you want somebody to finance your show now, and you're not going to get free money from your socialist government, you're going to have to pull a profit, which means you got to have people liking the show to be willing to watch it. That ain't happening. So more dead franchises. But you know what isn't dead is the content that you can enjoy here on YouTube, just like you are right now. Let's see what you can enjoy this week. I'm going to top off my glass, and I'll be right back on the other side in just under 3 minutes. Be right back.
You are watching Liquid Lunch, streaming every weekday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's sip together. This week on Live from Sparkwood and 21, we'll be watching the first half of the series created by Mark Frost and David Lynch called On the Air. This sitcom follows the staff of a fictional 1950s television network as they produce a live variety show called The Lester Guy Show, often with disastrous results. Join us this Tuesday at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes and Affiliates.
When Keela, the purser of the cruise ship Space Princess, makes Scorpio's crew a lucrative offer, Avon is loath to refuse. After all, even if it does belong to Servalan, who could resist the temptation of 17 billion in gold? This week on Last Call presents Blake's 7, 10 p.m. Central, 11 Eastern.
This Thursday night, Netter will introduce us to Robert James, the writer and director of the COVID lockdown dramedy 15 Days, and hear his story that led him to create this independent film and where we can see it. Join us this Thursday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Netter's Network.
This week on Saturday Night at the Movies, you decide which film we will see. The poll is up on Last Call with Troy Pacelli's Community tab, and The Mist is in the lead, but you can change that with your vote. Then join us for Saturday Night at the Movies, this week on Last Call with Troy Pacelli and Netter's Network, and Big Al Presents, Saturday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern.
Every Sunday evening, Aged Boomer and Last Call with Troy Pacelli bring you the rundown of the week's geek news, or at least what they think is interesting. You may have heard about it elsewhere, but Boomer and Pacelli spin it like only two old geezers can. It's Geeky Geezers, every Sunday evening at 8 Central, 9 Eastern.
We now return to our Liquid Lunch.
Curtis Selby says, I used to love Doctor Who. Well, I still love Doctor Who because all Doctor Who ended when Peter Capaldi started his regeneration. Everything after that is not Doctor Who. So I still love Doctor Who, and I hope Doctor Who returns. But until he does, I don't know what the rest of this is. Fluff Chick Production says from Jody on. Yeah, exactly. That's not Doctor Who. Love Doctor Who and dead. Yep, exactly. And what is it that your liberal friends hate, Curtis? The fact that you loved Doctor Who? I may have missed what you're connecting to there. It's true. This man has no dick. I can only. I would love to hear all the different outtakes from that scene, because there is a version of that line provided where they did a take that was, you know, PG for networks, where instead of calling him Dickless, but if it weren't for Willie the Wick here, and then when it gets to Bill Murray's line, he goes, yes, it's true, this man is some sort of animal, we don't know what kind. My Doctor Who is from Hartnell to Capaldi. Jody on is something I don't talk about. Well, when you start destroying the canon of your own show, how do you even say it's part of that show? It's something else. You're talking about a history, a character, a storyline that has nothing to do with what came before it. That's why canon matters. In order for it to still be part of that franchise, it has to follow the canon, right? Yeah, there is no Doctor Who beyond Capaldi. I didn't even like all of the episodes of Capaldi. Doctor Who was starting to have some problems, actually starting with Matt Smith. There were just some bad decisions being made, but there was still some great ones, and they had not veered away from canon as of yet. I kissed a serval hand and I liked it. That's what Tarrant and Avon have both said. Let's see. Yeah, Mist is so good and the ending is a shocker. I've had a number of people vote for it because they haven't seen it. I'm trying not to spoil that ending, even though I may have already told Netter how it ends. Don't know. Let's see. They hate that the BBC no longer gets billions in free money from us. Yeah, because they hate meritocracy. And that's what you should point out to them. That's what you should really point out. Does liberal mean you don't believe in responsibility, in production, in doing a good job? You have no pride, in your output, that you can't stand on your own feet? Is that what liberalism means? That's not what liberalism means. That's not what it should mean. But that's what how a lot of younger liberals think these days. That's not liberalism. That's neo-Marxism is what that really is. Star Trek has tossed that out an air like, yeah. Well, at least they can go with, well, this is all a separate universe, a separate history. Okay, fine. That's fine. Until you get back to our universe and our Star Trek. Let me get back to this real quick. So this is what they think is going to bring fans back. Now, I don't know if I'm being unfair here because this is just an unfortunate freeze frame, but Billie Piper ain't looking so great there. She's looking kind of plasticky. She's looking more like an auton than a pop star. Just saying. That's a far cry from Secret Diary of a Call Girl. Let me tell you, that's yikes. That's wow. And apparently this is the new form the Doctor is supposed to take if they continue the show. Don't know, my friends. Just don't know. Tangled live-action remake back in motion at Disney. Scarlett Johansson in talks to play Mother Gothel. It's kind of sad, isn't it? That Scarlett Johansson, the one who we kind of drooled over for a lot of years, is now playing the old withered crone. Maybe it's appropriate because the whole story of Mother Gothel is she's trying to hold on to her beauty by siphoning magic off of Rapunzel's hair, right? So you do have that element of she's starting to get old, starting to get the gray, so she wafts in the juju to stay young, and by the end of the movie she ends up, all the age starts coming out in her. Maybe that's appropriate for a starlet, a former starlet, a former attractive celebrity to be playing the role. But why am I bringing this up, and how does this... Whoop. You know, I really do love you, Marvin, but I didn't mean to keep clicking on your bio. That was not intentional. Why am I bringing this up in relationship to Dead Doctor Who and Dead Tron? It's about these dying franchises that are dying because, and you know, it's too easy to just say, oh, it's woke, it's woke, it's woke. Yeah, that is a problem that does drive people away, but that's not the only problem. You could actually get away with all the woke if the story was good. You know, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, or poison in this case, but they're not even doing good storytelling. And we had been hearing that after Snow White did so badly, they were putting the kibosh on live-action remakes for a while. But Tron has done so badly, and really every film they've put out this season has tanked, with the exception of Lilo and Stitch, that regardless, they have to make this movie because they have to make movies. They're definitely not going to ever have a hit if they don't make movies. So they have to keep churning out this crap in the hopes that please give us another Lilo and Stitch. Hopefully they learn some of the right lessons and they actually start writing good stories, right? But I don't see that happening. We'll see. Let's get into this article a little bit and see what they're saying here. Disney's live-action Tangled remake is reportedly back in motion after a quiet pause earlier this year, and Scarlett Johansson may soon join the project in a key villain role. According to Superhero Hype, Disney is once again moving ahead with the adaptation under director Michael Gracey, The Greatest Showman. I didn't see that, even though I'm a big Hugh Jackman fan. With Johansson in early talks to portray Mother Gothel. A modern classic gets a live-action treatment, for better or worse. Originally released in 2010, it's 15 years. Is that too soon for a remake? I guess not. Was one of the Walt Disney Animation Studios' biggest successes of the post-Renaissance era, starring Mandy Moore as Rapunzel, Zachary Levi as Flynn Rider, and Donna Murphy as Mother Gothel. The films reimagined the classic Rapunzel fairy tale with Broadway-style songs, advanced CG animation, and a heartfelt, emotional core. Given the film's enduring popularity and Disney's seeming obsession with hit-or-miss remakes of its classic animated films like The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast, it was only a matter of time before Tangled entered the studio's live-action pipeline. In 2024, reports confirmed Gracey had signed on to direct with a script from Jennifer Caton Robinson of Thor, Love and Thunder fame. Wonderful. At that time, industry observers expected Tangled to move quickly into pre-production, but that trajectory changed dramatically after one of Disney's other high-profile fairy tale revivals stumbled. Yes, this one. And they've refused to learn the necessary lessons from this. That regrouping period appears to be over, with reports that Tangled has been reactivated within Disney's live-action pipeline. Gracey remains attached as director, and Scarlett Johansson has emerged as a forerunner to play the manipulative Mother Gothel, the aging villain who steals Rapunzel to harness her magical hair's youth-granting powers. The timing suggests Disney is once again ready to test audience appetite for modern fairy tales, especially after this year's Lilo and Stitch remake delivered a massive commercial return for the studio. The film has reportedly earned over $1 billion globally, giving Disney new confidence in its ability to re-energize familiar animated properties when handled with care. That's crucial. That when handled with care part. Jonathan Conroy is absolutely right here. It all comes down to bad writers with no life experience. They also don't follow the canon of the IPs. The editors are all out to lunch, not here. LOL, producers don't look at the dailies. Absolutely true. One of the things we were talking about on Geeky Geezers last night was with more and more films being made overseas, not being made at all, basically the death of Hollywood, you're seeing a lot more of the support staff, the gaffers and the sound editors and the lighting guys and all that kind of stuff, saying, I'm going to have to find another profession because I can no longer support myself in this industry. So they are losing all of that talent. And so the quality of the films is going to get worse, not better, as things go, if things don't change radically. Should negotiations move forward, Johansson's casting would mark her latest high-profile return to Disney following her decade-long tenure as Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In 2025 alone, Johansson has balanced prestige and blockbuster projects, including the Phoenician Scheme, Jurassic World Rebirth, and Eleanor the Great, which she directed herself. I saw none of those films. I had never heard of two of the three myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a very attractive woman, but as with most celebrities, you start to, and humans in general, don't ever judge a book by its cover. You see someone who looks attractive at first glance. As you get to know them, sometimes they become less attractive. But, every now and again you meet a gem who actually seems more attractive as you get to know her. I doubt that's one of them. Her potential turn as Mother Gothel could allow her to showcase a mix of charisma and menace rarely seen in her recent work, or at least not in a long time, stepping into a role that blends theatrical villainy with psychological complexity. If you have writers that are capable of portraying and writing psychological complexity, that's the problem. You're trying to write smart characters when you yourself are not smart. For Disney, it would bring A-list power to a project that's already generated renewed buzz. We've already seen, it doesn't matter who the actor is, they can't save bad writing. They just can't. Disney's decision to resurrect Tangled speaks to a new, more selective approach towards its live-action remakes. No, it talks to desperation. That's my opinion. While the studio has faced criticism for oversaturating the market, initial analytics reportedly show that post-2000 animated titles like Tangled and Lilo and Stitch resonate more strongly with younger streaming audiences, a demographic that remains key to Disney Plus retention. Well, we've pushed away the child market by pushing away their parents and making their parents question whether or not their kids should be consuming Disney products any longer. By focusing on these newer properties, Disney may be seeking to recapture the energy of the Frozen era rather than relying on legacy nostalgia after high-profile misses with The Little Mermaid and Snow White. If Johansson officially joins the cast and the film moves into production, that's key. If Johansson officially joins, and if the film moves into production, it hasn't yet. This is not yet a done deal. Tangled could mark a pivotal test case for whether Disney can still balance brand familiarity with fresh creative direction. Or if they can remain viable as a company, I would argue. But they don't have a choice. In order for them to keep making movies, they have to keep making movies. Anyway. Would you see Tangled live action remake? I don't watch live action remakes as a rule. If I want to see Tangled, I'll watch the original Tangled again. If I want to see Lilo and Stitch, I'll watch the original Lilo and Stitch again. If I want to see Snow White, I will absolutely watch the original Snow White. And of course, I'm talking about the Disney versions of these stories. These stories are not, owned by Disney. Only their versions are. These are classic fairy tales that are in the public domain that anyone could do a version of. And I have seen some great Snow White takes and films, but they weren't Disney's. Disney only did the one. Yeah, that's exactly right, Jonathan. These people don't know how to write. I was basically yesterday on Geeky Geezers, I was basically comparing these modern writers to fan fiction writers, people who I don't know if they were ever formally educated in the writing process, but they've apparently forgotten everything they would have learned. People are just saying, I got a story to tell. I'll just tell the story. And they don't understand, it's like trying to draw a picture, and it's the difference between your stick figures, right? All in 2 dimensions, and a great oil painting, that's from a slight distance, almost completely photorealistic, I took art appreciation in college, and one of the things you realize is something that kids don't understand when they're coloring in a coloring book, right? When you color the sky, as a child, you take one color blue and you color the entire sky that color blue. In a painting, you realize that the sky is not all one color. It gets lighter and darker. That's partially because of clouds. That's also partially because of where the sun is in the sky. Obviously, towards the end of the day, you get into shades of orange and yellow and red as you get closer to the horizon. It's never all one color. Even my blue shirt here, right? If you were to paint the colors of this shirt, you might start with a base color of this dark blue, but then there'd be darker sections where there's shadow, lighter where there's light hitting it. Look at my jacket here, which is a charcoal gray. You've got this blue light hitting it here. That blue color is actually coming off of this kind of violet neon light here. But when that hits this charcoal, it becomes a dark blue. You recognize these differences. These are subtle things that you don't really think about consciously, but you pay attention to as an artist, right? And there are things that you understand about storytelling, building up tension, right? Foreshadowing, and foreshadowing is not something that is absolute. There's a skill to it, right? You don't want to hit someone over the head, right? That the whole Chekhov's gun concept, right? It's gotten to the point where people know that even if they don't know from studying the term Chekhov's gun, they understand the concept. Oh, I bet that object that they just focused on is going to be important later, right? And if it isn't, that's bad storytelling, right? But sometimes being subtle about it is better. Don't even notice Chekhov's gun. See somebody do it subtly, pick something up, take something out of a box, and unless you're actually paying attention to what they're doing, you won't even catch it, but, in the back of your mind, subtly, subconsciously, it's there, and there's a payoff for it. My problem with coloring as a child is I wouldn't stay between the lines, and I still don't. Well, here's the interesting thing. Part of coloring in a coloring book, the difference between a child, an adult, and an artist, is understanding the value of the lines. So a child needs to learn to stay within the lines because otherwise it makes no sense. Otherwise it's just scribbling. The adult learns to stay within the lines, but then needs to learn that there's more to it than just staying within the lines. The artist stays within the lines, adds some of his own lines, adds more than one color within the lines, and knows when to come outside the lines a bit. You know? And that's called maturity. I guess that's what I'm basically getting down to. Subtlety comes with maturity, and unfortunately, I don't see that in the way writers are writing these days. Now, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that even if they are very good writers, it is entirely possible that their writing is being ruined by bad editing, bad directing, studio involvement. Hearing too much about, scripts being redone and rewritten and scenes being refilmed, because things didn't do well with test audiences, and then you end up with a Frankenstein of a story that is never going to work well when you finally get to the theaters, and we're seeing that. It's sad. It's sad. We are regressing as a society in so many ways, and vilifying older generations that had more intelligence, more wisdom, and did things better than you do now. Look, kids, you're not in a position to be critical of the past. You need to learn to walk before you can run, and you're barely able to pull yourself along in a crawl, and you're laughing at your gimpy uncle who limps. Just saying. I know that is a whole messed up analogy, but try to find some wisdom in it. That's my problem. Yeah, coloring in the lines. There you go. Anyway, that's just some of the things I was thinking about today. I hope that it got you thinking a little bit. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to come back later, drop some comments down below after you've thought about it for a while. Please do. By all means, if you're only watching this after it's no longer live, please also leave a comment. Let me know you were here. And that's it tonight, members. Members Night at the Movies. You guys chose it. We will be watching the 1931 classic Frankenstein. So hope to see you back for that. And until next time, you take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high